Fuel subsidy has been a thorny issue with Nigerians over the decades. As the country seeks to wean itself off oil dependency, it persisted against all odds until the announcement of its removal by President Bola Tinubu. That's our focus on Special Report.
Subsidy. Unfortunate. The budget that I've glimpsed before I assumed office, and what I've heard is that no provision is there for fuel subsidy. The fuel subsidy is gone. Subsidy can no longer justify an ever increasing cost in the wake of dry resources. We shall instead.
After the announcement of the fuel subsidy removal, petrol began selling between 488 and 530 naira per litre in some filling stations in Lagos. That was a direct response to the removal of the subsidy on the product. Motorists were already apprehensive about the impact of the price increase on their livelihood.
I don't understand what is wrong in Nigeria, for God's sake. We are a problem ourselves, for God's sake. This fuel subsidy has not been removed. Then why is everybody locking their fuel up? Look at just yesterday and today. We've been, in short, I left 1Q AP filling station. I've been there for like 4 hours. I couldn't get, and I now came here, look at the queue again. Like, where are we going to? This is unfair, honestly. We are our problem ourselves. We should try and help ourselves even before the government. That's all I can say.
I'm getting feel like I think by past 3, that's over 7 hours standing here, just trying to get feel. So it just goes to say about the untold hardship we have experienced in the last couple of hours, just trying to get feel, and it's totally awful. And for me, I own a company and I run my business. That means that for the entire day, I have been totally unproductive simply because I'm trying to get fuel. And without the fuel, I can't move, I can't go anywhere. And it's gone so bad that it has cut across different sectors, different states. And it's just totally displeasing having to spend this number of hours.
The Nigeria National Petroleum Company Limited also announced an increase in the pump price per litre of petrol at its retail stations across the country.
We welcome the decision of Mr. President to announce that subsidy on PMS is over, and this has really been a major challenge for NNPC's continued operation. We have been funding the subsidy from the cash flow of the NNPC since government is unable to defray the cost of subsidy that is due to the corporation. And we believe that this will free resources for the NNPC to continue to do the great works that this company will do for our country, and it allows us to continue to function as a very commercial entity. And we welcome this development. Secondly, we would like to assure Nigerians that we have sufficient supply of petroleum product, particularly petroleum motor spirit, in our country, and there is no reason to panic. We understand people will be scared of potential changes to price of petrol, but that is not enough for people to rush to fuel stations to buy more than what they need. But we are also assured that, we are watching all the distribution networks and support facility. We believe that normalcy will be restored very soon.
The president of the Petroleum and Natural Gas Senior Staff Association of Nigeria, Festus Osifo, also criticized the federal government's decision to remove fuel subsidy before the stipulated date of June the 30th.
Yes, if you listen to the president during the inauguration at Eagle Square, he said that one of the hallmark of this administration is going to be dialogue, is going to be consultation, and that this will be the hallmark, that they are not going to lord it over us, trying to paraphrase what he said, and not to be a dictator. So if you read it, it is clearly written there. And what has happened in terms of, as at today, has not shown what was written in his address. So all we've said before now was that just as alluded to by my colleague as well, was that we ought to have sat down and have this conversation. At times, it's difficult, before anything could have happened. We have been open to conversations. We started it in 2021, and somewhat part of 2022. But at the end of the day, they told us that they were not removing subsidy. So there was no conversation whatsoever. So for over a year, there was informal engagements and formal meetings. And because there were informal engagements and meetings, that is why we found ourselves here today. If we had met before now, we could have proposed a lot of things. Just as the CNG has said, we have experts in our midst who could have proffered some solutions on even the CNG, how it could be done faster, what are the things that could be, because our own is how do we protect the Nigerian workforce. So it is not about grandstanding, but it's just about how do we protect the workforce. So for us, clearly we have stated in the meeting today that let's status quo ante remain, why we go back, have conversations with our principals, because the workers are clearly our principals. So we'll go back and have conversations with them. Then after the conversation, then we'll reconvene again and have some further discussion. But we hope that day as well we will reverse back to status quo ante.
He said at the meeting between federal government and labor representatives at the time, both groups discussed plans of the government to provide palliatives for citizens to soften the removal of subsidy. The president of the NLC, Mr. Joe Ajero, said that the president, Mr. Bola Tinubu, should have met with critical stakeholders and the labor union before making his pronouncement in his inaugural speech.
If you say this thing is happening this way and you are engaged in discussion, if what happens there is take it or leave it, which doesn't have any space in the current dispensation. It's all about the people. People matter. If they say, this is the project you are bringing, you are removing subsidy, you have been spending money for this difference. Remember 2011, we were here, this compound, and we agreed on some principles, repair our refineries, to start operation latest by December last year. They were not done. We agreed on issue of CNG. The CNG product is eco-friendly and is cheaper than the PMS they're selling now. And some people say they can convert within 3 months. If we have done all these things, what will you be calling a subsidy? The Dangote refinery is there to be producing. If any of these refineries are producing, we won't have all this challenge we're having today. That's the language of labor. Now, will anybody increase their salary by 300% with what has happened now? This question is going to come to the basics as of today. Transportation has gone beyond that. I don't know what they're paying you, but you cannot, it's not enough for your transportation. That's what we are saying. It's not because there is any dogma on subsidy. No, but we should converse in a free environment and atmosphere and arrive. If we agree for a meeting by 2 today, and in the morning, you come out with price modulation. How can you fix price in a deregulated market? If you are talking of deregulation in the classical sense of it, it has to be determined by market forces. What I buy, I sell. But by the time you now dictate the prices, this amount. Now what is happening? Is that deregulation? Well, the subsidy provision has been made up to the end of June. And before then, conscious people, labor, management, government should be able to think of what will happen at the end of June. You don't start it before the time. Last administration made it up to end of June. Why can't we respect the sanctity of even that law that provided for that expenditure up to the end of June?
The President, Bola Tinubu, arrived at the presidential villa on his first day of work after the announcement of the removal of fuel subsidy, hours after he took the oath of office as Nigeria's 16th president. He was welcomed by the Vice President, Senator Kashim Shettima, Speaker of the House of Representatives. The Group CEO of NNPCL, Mr. Mele Kyari, hailed the President's removal of fuel subsidy, announcing that the company is owed 2.8 trillion naira by the federal government.
The Petroleum Industry Act has made it very clear that price of petroleum must be priced at market. That means there must be commercial price for petroleum. 6 months, and that terminates 6 months after bringing into law of the Petroleum Industry Act. That's sent to the Petroleum Industry Bill, now the law, that is August 2021. So after that, you do not have recourse to any subsidy on petroleum motor spirit. But however, our country also decided to provide for subsidy in the 2022 Appropriation Act and also half year in 2023. The combination of this is that while the Petroleum Industry Act was clear that petroleum should be priced, but it didn't say that government cannot spend its money in any way it wants. And therefore, we as a commercial company established under the Petroleum Act, we are doing it simply as business, delivering value to a supplier of last resort by virtue of the law, but at a cost to the Federation. And that cost includes the cost of subsidy. This subsidy cost should have been money that will be given to the NNPC maybe on monthly basis or even on daily basis if necessary. But however, since the provision of the 6 trillion in 2022 and the 3.7 trillion in 2023, we have not received no payment whatsoever from the Federation. That means they are unable to pay, and we continue to support the subsidy from the cash flow of the NNPC. That is, when we net off our fiscal obligations of taxes and royalty, there is still a balance that we are funding from our cash flow, and that has become very, very difficult and affecting our other operations. We are not able to keep some of this cash to invest on our core businesses, and the end result is that it can be a huge challenge for the company. And we have highlighted this severally to government that they must compensate NNPC, they must pay back NNPC for the money that we have spent on the subsidy. Fortunately, also by virtue of the provisions of the law and also the Appropriation Act 2023, it is no longer available for that funding. And we are very convinced today that the country can no longer fund this subsidy bill, and they will not be able to pay NNPC. And therefore, we are pleased to note Mr. President's commitment to elimination of this subsidy because they can't afford it anymore. And we will take necessary steps to ensure that we recover our costs from the market, and also being mindful of the fact that a situation like this can lead to exploitation of customers, and we're also working with the regulator who is here with me to see how we can cap any such excessive management of greed, to say the least. And this will be contained by virtue of the provisions of law, the authority or the Nigerian midstream and downstream regulatory authority, and the anti-competition agency. They will play their part, and obviously my colleague is going to speak by it. Otherwise, we believe very strongly that this is actually belated. We have been doing subsidy that has not significant value to the rest of the Federation and the rest of our countrymen. And we think this is a very, very commendable step taken by Mr. President to bring into effect the provisions of the law. Our position is we are supplier of last resort to the Federation. We are a commercial company. We are supplying to the Federation during the subsidy regime. Now, I'm also aware that government will act to bring succor and relief to our country people. I know this government is very sensitive and they will do this. So there are engagements that are ongoing to bring into effect that component of it. So NNPC will not do anything because we are a commercial company. It will not come from NNPC, but I'm aware that the government will do something around this. But the reality is that you cannot give what you don't have. So today, the country don't have the money to pay for subsidy. There's incremental value that will come from it, but it is not an issue of whether you can do it or not, because today we can't afford it. And they are not able to pay our bill. That comes to how much is the Federation owing NNPC now. Today, we are waiting for them to settle up to 2.8 trillion naira of NNPC's cash flow from the subsidy region. And we can't continue to build this.
Millions of people living together in one community, working together in the same trade. We go into their midst, find out how they live and work.
Oh my goodness, food business is not an easy business.
I spent more than 35 years for this community.
We tell these stories and how to survive in this economy. Community Report, we tell your story.
Ruling on an ex parte application filed before the court, the judge ordered the unions not to embark on their planned industrial action or strike of any nature pending the hearing and determination of the motion on notice. The court also directed that the defendants be served with the originating processes in the suit.
You see, the point is, during the campaign trail, every of our presidential candidates, 13 or 14 of them, all of them did say that the first thing they're going to do is to remove the subsidy. So what has changed? What has the current president said, or what has he done that is different from any of the other aspirants could have done? So, I mean, we need to be very patient. He's not even done a week, right? And so let us talk to ourselves and say that we shouldn't turn this thing political. Let's wait and support this man. He's not done a week on the job. Let him go and reflect, and at the subnational level, we're ready to support him. So the point is not, any strike will not solve anything. It will certainly will not be the issue. The point will be, how are we going to ensure that there is a turnaround in our economy, that we can live. He has mentioned something around, a better wage. We have started that in Lagos. We're priced to ourselves that we started in January. So other parts of the country can also do the same. Right? We don't need to wait for national government. We just need to reflect, what the challenges are in our country, and let's be able to solve it. So I want to plead with the Nigerian Labour Congress, NLC, right? And it shouldn't turn into a political thing, because we're beginning to see that. And the demand or the leadership should, indeed, they should know that they are leading a pack of people, and they need to restrain themselves.
Support came from the World Bank, who says it's prepared to help Nigeria with steps that will ensure immediate relief to cushion the effects of fuel subsidy removal.
I think the most important thing that every Nigerian person should know is, I think the decision about fuel subsidies, PMS subsidies, was because Nigeria needs more for healthcare, for basic education, for rural roads. If with PMS subsidies last year in 2022, 5 trillion naira went on PMS subsidies. Did most people see that in terms of their everyday lives? Yes, the price of PMS was lower, but there may not have been healthcare. There may not have been, the schools working, or the roads are not being fixed. So I think what the decision that has been made, that His Excellency the President has made, is very bold move. I think it is the case that, and he has himself said that the government will make an effort to provide relief for everyone, for the people who are affected by the increase in the price of PMS. We have always said we're here to help Nigeria. It's Nigeria's choice, whether it's in terms of healthcare, to provide support and financing for healthcare, for basic education, or you will have seen the newspapers already, we have also offered anything we can do to help support the provision of immediate relief for the people as a result of the PMS subsidy being taken out.
Former Rivers State Governor Yeso Wike defended the president's removal of fuel subsidy as a show of courageous leadership.
Every governor, everybody we have been shouting that this subsidy should be removed. It's not today. Starting from Jonathan's time, and when he talked about it, he wanted to shut down the whole country. Yes, but the reality is that this is a risk scam. Calculate how much. If you work out with government in terms of palliatives, this money that we are spending every month, for example, if we divert it, if we use for that purpose, what are the purposes? To cushion the effects or the hardship on the people. But again, I don't want to believe that the only masses, when Labour talks about masses, it's only civil servants. I don't want to believe that. And that's a mistake they're making. Labour can't speak for me. Labour can't speak for those who are not working. Labour only speaks for their civil servants, for their members, with all due respect. Yes. There are a lot of people who are suffering, who don't have work. So why can't this money be used to provide employment?
While the impact was biting hard, Kwara State Governor Abdulrahman Abdulrazak met with top labor leaders in Kwara State, appealing to them that the recent removal of fuel subsidy had been done in good faith.
We are so happy to this because our governor, being the chairman of the Governor Forum, leads a good sample, because having known the effects of this hike in the price of liters of petroleum for sales, you know the challenges that is going to be faced by the workers with what we are earning presently. And as a matter of urgency, what could be a palliative to reduce the suffering of workers? That is one of the reasons why he decided to reduce the numbers of the days for work in a week. Though that does not mean that the whole office will be closed for a day. It's only a roster will be out for workers to alternate days of their attendance in their workplace. Part of what we discuss is the first and foremost on our take home, which is our salary, our wages and salary. And the government itself has promised to increase our wages. Either wages increase or wages award, as it named by them. And His Excellency, being the chairman of Governor, equally mentioned that on the meeting we had together with him. And apart from that, some of our domestic challenges were put across to His Excellency to have immediate attention. These 2 days, it is much advantage to our women. You know, already they have been engaging themselves in a petty trading. Some are into the business of foodstuff, some are into the business of trading of clothes and what have you. So for this is an opportunity for them. And for those who have not been engaging in this act, it is the high time for them to look for alternative means so that it will be an additional source of income to add to their monthly pay. And that will equally make life easy and easier. And for women as well, who are so much, when we are talking of agricultural as a business, we have fisheries, we have poultry, irrespective. We have to be highly encouraged to engage ourselves with any kind of agricultural business that will promote our income.
That came as the governor approved immediate reduction of work days for the workforce in the state to lessen the impact of subsidy removal on their earnings.
The decision of the governor to announce the reduction in the number of days that civil servants will go to work is, in summary, to bring ease to the civil servant. When you consider the fact that subsidy has been removed from the price of PMS, that translated to transporters jacking up their prices, and that also means that if you are a civil servant spending, say, 200 naira in a day before, that may automatically means that you have to pay up to 500 naira or 400 naira in a day. And at the moment, government has not raised the wage. The government feels that the most pragmatic thing to do in the circumstance is to be creative about the challenge we have on our hand by reducing the number of days that civil servants will have to come to work, particularly those who are working in ministries, departments, and agencies of government. So it's a stopgap measure, really. It is not something that will always be there permanently till eternity, no. It's just a stopgap measure to ensure that we bring immediate ease and to relieve workers of the shock of the removal of subsidy. But you are also aware that there are other categories of workers who are not covered under that policy, particularly the teachers and health workers, and from what I've heard, those in the judiciary who are having to work with judges and all of that. They are also not directly covered under that policy, and government is working out some interventions to support them so that when they are going to work, when their colleagues are not going every other day, government is finding a way of supporting them.
The days and weeks and years to come will tell the story of how subsidy removal impacts the lives of Nigerians. Thanks for watching. For Special Report, I'm Olumide Macaulay.